Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, in anything that you do in life, in any stance that you take, there's always a little bit of doubt. You know, you could be in love with someone, you could want to marry them, start a family and spend the rest of your life with them, but even if you know that you love this person, there's still some sort of voice at the back of your mind that worries. Is it the right person? Is it going to end badly? It's the same thing in business. You know, you could have a foolproof investment, the financials make sense, it's the safest possible investment, it's going to set you up for the rest of your life, but it's business, and at the end of the day, business carries risk. You could be totally confident in it. There's that voice in the back of your mind of doubt and risk, and it's the same thing in the world of politics. You could think a politician is great, you could vote for that person, but you know deep down inside that person could betray you. And of course, it's the same thing even with political identity. Am I supporting the right things? Am I on the right side? You could be fairly confident that your conservative ideals or your left-wing ideals are the right ones, are the correct side, but either way, even if you're very confident in your beliefs, there's still that lurking voice at the back of your mind that questions, am I doing the right thing? And honestly, I think it's healthy if you don't have that. If you're so absolute and unbudgeable in your ideas and beliefs, well then I think almost it's a form of ignorance, an unwillingness to explore other ideas or have an open mind. And I'll be honest, I think like most people, I have those moments where I question, am I on the right side? Am I doing the right thing? Am I supporting the right people? But it's moments like these that reinforce my beliefs, cast away the doubt totally, and make me say to myself, absolutely I'm on the right side because these wacko leftists are out of their damn minds. It's moments like these, especially on issues related to the economy, that make it just so clear. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so the topic of today's video is fiscal responsibility. It's moments like these that really reinforce my beliefs as a conservative, especially when it comes to monetary policy. What are the Democrats trying to do? Well, if you ask me, they're trying to do the unimaginable. Democrats push to eliminate the debt ceiling, allowing unlimited government borrowing. Democrats say that it is dangerous for Republicans to demand spending cuts as a condition of raising the borrowing limit. Dozens of House Democrats have proposed legislation that would eliminate the debt ceiling, which would allow the government to borrow without any limit set by Congress. The federal government hit the $31.381 trillion debt ceiling last week, and House Republicans are pushing for commitments to cut back on the record growth in federal spending before agreeing to allow more borrowing. But Democrats accuse Republicans of setting up the possibility of prohibiting a debt ceiling hike, which would make the government unable to fund all of its current obligations. Democrats say a better idea is to eliminate all limits on federal borrowing and allow the government to borrow whatever it needs. Weaponizing the debt ceiling and using it as a pawn in partisan budget negotiations is dangerous and repeatedly brings our nation to the brink of default, which would be disastrous to the US economy, something we've witnessed as recently as 2011 when Republicans created a debt ceiling crisis that resulted in the first ever downgrade to the US credit rating. And I think it's time to have a real tough conversation here. Do you just keep kicking the can down the road? The US is gonna default if we don't raise the debt ceiling. We won't be able to pay our obligations, is the argument the Democrats are making. But when? When is it time to feel the pain? Is it time to own up that the US government has been totally irresponsible and spending money that it doesn't have? Is it time to maybe start defaulting and take the pain now? Or is it time to keep kicking the can down the road further and further, continue with this fiscal insanity, there's no other way to describe it, it's what I always call it, continue to blow up this bubble, this balloon, make it worse and worse and worse until the point where it's totally unsustainable or it's time to finally face reality, and then the problem is going to be much worse. What is currently happening is unsustainable, and Democrats are arguing that the US government should have no limits in its borrowing capabilities. In other words, endlessly print money, no budget whatsoever, monopoly money. Endless inflation is essentially the result, it's essentially what they're looking at here, and it just fundamentally, from a very fundamental perspective in budgeting, makes no sense. If you had a kid and you gave that kid a credit card, or you had a family budget, you have to live within your means. What you're collecting, You don't give a child an endless borrowing limit on their credit card and say, oh, well, don't worry about it. Run the tab as much as you want. You don't run your budget on an endless credit card debt, running your family in extreme debt. You live by what you earn, what you can afford. You create a budget that actually makes sense that you could pay off every single month. And if you go a little bit into debt, it's moderate debt that you're slowly paying off. Well, this current debt is not moderate. Ever since this new policy, this Keynesian-style economics has been adopted, this pushing of the US debt limit endlessly every single year, pushing the debt limit further and further, the problem just keeps getting worse. Here's a great chart to show you guys what I mean by that. The yellow line is the pushing up of the US debt limit. The white line that follows, identical, is US total debt. It follows perfectly, and it's an exponential curve. That's not in line with economic growth. That is unsustainable. And I have an issue with Democrats arguing that this practice is defensible, just baseline. Now they're going as far to say that they should take it to the next level and just unleash the federal government's borrowing power. What they want to do is expand COVID-era spending indefinitely. You know, spending $3 to $4 trillion a year, plus maybe up to $5 trillion a year, going forward on a year-by-year basis. It's absolute wacko land. Americans are facing a cost of living crisis, and Democrats want to make it worse. Groceries are getting too expensive. Energy is getting too expensive. The cost of food is getting ridiculously expensive. And what Democrats want to do is make that worse. In fact, it seems like they want to bake it into the system. That's just the standard. Endless inflation every single year. Endless government spending. And they're trying to paint this picture as if Republicans are these evil characters that are using their ability right now, since they control the House, to block increasing the debt ceiling in order to force spending cuts. They're making it seem as if Republicans are evil, trying to blackmail Democrats by forcing an economic catastrophe. No, Republicans are trying to stop the next economic catastrophe. They're using the leverage that they have at the negotiating table to force the Democrats into some basic fiscal responsibility. And it's funny because the White House is making this argument that these evil Republicans are trying to wreck the economy to get what they want. Joe Biden even recently said this:
I have no intention of letting the Republicans wreck our economy, nor does anybody around this table, in my view.
I have no intention of letting Republicans wreck our economy, even though what Republicans are doing is trying to negotiate and using the leverage that they have. But like most things when it comes to Joe Biden, I mean, he's been in politics for a very long time. Here's his perspective from 2011.
This is the debt limit. And it was, I don't want to use pejorative terms, it was used as the means by which, unless certain compromises were made, we would default on our debt. There's room within the budget to fund those priorities. But it's going to be, what it ordinarily would be, a normal political battle. How can you explain this? How can you explain the fact that grown men and women are unwilling to budge up till now, and still some of them are still unwilling to budge, by taking an absolute position, my way or no way? That's not governing. That's no way to govern. You can't govern that way. This is a cycle. I predict to you that a lot of those new members who came here with my way or the highway, they'll either be on the highway or they'll learn that they have to have compromise.
Negotiating the debt limit is a normal process according to Joe Biden. Individuals taking a my way or the highway position on the debt limit need to learn that they have to compromise. Those are direct Joe Biden quotes. Now all of a sudden, he's digging his heels in and standing by the my way or the highway strategy and promoting more fear-mongering garbage that Republicans are just trying to wreck the economy, I guess, for political reasons. It makes no sense. Nothing the Democrats say makes any sense.
Me, I get rid of the debt ceiling altogether.
Right.
It serves no function except to create leverage.
This makes no sense at all. This is craziness. It's crazy talk. And this new argument that I'm hearing from Democrats that actually raising the debt ceiling isn't a license to spend more money. It just allows the Treasury to pay the bills on time. It's all completely bogus. These are disingenuous arguments. It is a license to spend because it seems as though the only way that you can stop Democrats from spending trillions upon trillions of dollars that the American government does not have is by using the debt limit as a bargaining chip. It's time for Republicans to be Republicans again and to stop signing on to the Democrat agenda of endless money printing and endless spending. That's like giving a credit card with no limit to a shopping addict. That's what the Democrats are. They have no concept of money. They continue to spend, and ask questions later, and it's gotta stop. The little guy, the lower and middle class are struggling. We're facing an affordability crisis, and the government is at the center of it. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.